Good afternoon. It's a JG investment show, Sell Me This Stock. Today our guest is Dmitry Alexandrov, Deputy Managing Director and Head of Research at Univer Capital in Moscow. And today we are going to discuss oil and gas company, the Russian oil and gas company, the biggest company in Russia and the second one in the world in terms of production volumes. But before starting our discussion about the company, we need to delve a little deeper in the current market situation. Of course, we won't go too far into explaining the causes and consequences of the ongoing energy crisis. Instead, let's try to simplify the understanding. So the rise in oil and gas prices came as a surprise to many, although we have been talking about it since the beginning of spring. So, Dmitry, here's a question for you. Could you please express your opinion on the current situation, given maybe 3-5 reasons of the current energy crisis? What does it mean for us as for investors if we are talking about Russian oil companies? And finally, can we get out of this crisis suddenly after it began?
Actually, there are few reasons. First of all, as for me, is high consumption in China. First of all, in China, but in the Pacific region as a whole also. The second reason is relatively low reserves of gas in Europe, and maybe the last but not the least reason, low production of wind power generation stations, first of all in Germany, but not only in Germany. So we saw some similar situation with what we have seen this winter. I mean winter from 2021. I suspect calm winter in Europe could, especially estimations and prognosis that the winter in Europe will be calm, could help the market and all the guys, to become more calm as well, and I mean that now gas prices in Europe on European market are very abnormal high. So absolutely unstable, abnormal, and if somebody believes that I don't know 1,000 euros per 1,000 cubic meters is now okay and it's forever price, no, of course no. So I think that from 1 month to maybe 1 quarter, this is the frame of time when gas price on TTF hub, for example, will remain high, but after it should come down to normal range.
Right, they will stabilize actually, right? At a lower levels. Okay. Now let's.
I would like.
Yes.
Sorry, Dmitry. I would like to ask another question about the reasons. One more question. So, Dmitry, you've mentioned the consumption in China. There's a low the low stock in Europe, and finally the cold winter. But what's about the upcoming green energy improvements? What do you think about this? Because nowadays in Europe there are a lot of discussions about green energy, and sometimes people think that tomorrow we will refuse oil and gas energy, and we will switch to the green energy. So what's the impact of green energy on the current oil and gas prices, and what's your opinion about this?
Yes, low production at green energy facilities is one of the reasons why we have seen so high prices on gas in Europe. It's my opinion. So if we would like to enhance green energy production, it's very nice. But wind and solar power facilities are unstable in production of energy. So we should have either huge reserves of energy. We can accumulate it somehow in water reservoirs, in accumulators, lithium ionic accumulators, something else, or we should have stable reserve of gas generation, oil generation, something else. So if European Union would like to have stable prices of energy, it should either enhance green energy production many times, many times, 10 times and more. And as I see, this is a trend, especially when we are talking about the politician guys. This is the major trend. Or combine green energy production and big reserve of traditional energy sources, like pipelines with oil, like pipelines with gas, like terminals for LNG. But we see that now LNG can't help European Union because there is a lack of LNG in global world.
Dmitry, thank you. But let me pick up on this, what you have just mentioned about pipelines, actually. Do you think Rosneft has a chance? We are talking actually on the show about Rosneft, which is an oil company. But do you think Rosneft can become a significant player in the natural gas market? And should investors expect Rosneft to get access to export pipelines like Nord Stream 2?
Yeah, this is a very intriguing question, and I think there is no answer to it yet. My assumptions are as follows: the role of gas in the structure of Rosneft production will increase, and I think that maybe not now, maybe some years later, maybe some quarters later, but will receive the opportunity to export relatively small in comparison with total Russian gas export, but Rosneft will receive the opportunity to export some volumes of gas through pipeline capacities, and maybe not only Rosneft. This would be a very effective decision in how to explain it in the best way. 1 second. Yeah. I think that the permission, why I suspect that Rosneft will get the possibility to export natural gas through pipelines, and why I suspect that not only Rosneft will receive such possibility, because this would be very effective decision for Russian Federation and for Gazprom as well. When we take into account European gas transportation regulation and gas market regulation. So if, for example, Lukoil could transport some volumes of natural gas through, for example, Nord Stream 2, it would be much more difficult for European Commission to prevent Gazprom from 100% usage of capacities on such pipelines.
Yes, right. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, maybe let's speak about investment issues. So I would like to ask, Goldman Sachs recently actually raised the target price of Rosneft shares to $10.5. This is 750 rubles per share. Do you think, Dmitry, do you think the stock price may go as high as that?
Well, theoretically, it's possible. Let's remember that we are now in a bullish commodity market, so everything is possible. Higher oil prices are quite possible. So $90 per barrel, maybe. If energy demand remains elevated and monetary policy of Federal Reserve, for example, European Central Bank and other major regulators is moderate for some quarters else, it will be a good time for oil and gas companies, of course. On the other hand, one should not forget about strengthening of ruble exchange rate. Its negative effect on net income is comparable with oil prices rise. So I mean that when the ruble exchange rate and the oil price change by the same percentage, the ruble changes have a more important influence on the net income and EBITDA of Russian oil exporters, and the influence of ruble exchange rate is negative. When ruble is strengthening, it's negative effect. So at the moment, I think that possibility of further rise of Rosneft equities is not so huge. It remains on the market, but it's not so huge.
Okay. Yes, currency volatility. Okay. Today we have already discussed a little oil and gas, upcoming oil and gas projects. And what I would like to say, there has been a lot of talk recently about Vostok oil. Why is that? Why is this project so important for the company?
Vostok oil is a key long-term project of Rosneft. Its prospects go far beyond the horizon of this decade. So the total resource potential of this project, this field, or it's better to say this region on Russian north, Siberian north, is about 6 billion tons of oil and condensate and more than 2 trillion cubic meters of natural gas. Now planned production at the project should be 30, 50, and up to 100 million tons of oil and condensate in 2024, 2027, and 2030, respectively. So evidently, it's very important project of Rosneft.
Let me pick up from here, actually. Basically, talking about this Vostok oil, still it's a long-term project. We understand that, and production there is expected to reach its peak no sooner than 2030 or something like that. But on the other hand, the company has under 4 trillion rubles of net debt on its balance sheet. And they have already actually sold a 15% stake in Vostok oil to international oil traders. And this money is actually plowed back into Vostok oil as capex. Do you think it would be a better idea actually to repay debt instead and increase dividends to shareholders? Especially now that oil, I mean, has been branded by a lot of people international, a lot of politicians as environmentally dirty fuel, and oil prices are high for now.
I think it's more important for Rosneft to implement a major project that ensures its long-term sustainable development than to reduce the debt burden, which is sincerely speaking, it's moderate. Actually, the total debt is about 4 trillion, but net debt is 1 billion lower. So net debt now is equal to 2,1 to 3 EBITDA. I think this is a comfortable level, so I don't expect any problems with Rosneft financials concerned with leverage. So I think the development now is more important than low debt. I understand that maybe a few years later, we will be faced with much more high rates, for example, in dollar and maybe even in euro than we see now. But nevertheless, net debt to EBITDA around 2, it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, given the two alternatives, like if you let's say have to choose Rosneft and Bashneft, which is actually part of Rosneft, by the way, but still a publicly traded company, you can buy shares in Bashneft, right? Which one would you recommend? I mean, Rosneft or Bashneft?
I prefer Rosneft. I prefer Rosneft due to the higher transparency of this story.
Right.
Clear strategy, clear dividend policy, concern for capitalization. We saw the buyback program. It was especially very important in the first half of 2020. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So right. Everything. I mean. All that I have listed is much more complicated in case of Bashneft. So there may be strong movements in equities of Bashneft when we see that the situation improves. Even sharp growth is possible. Yeah. Especially with the improvement of the dividend policy of the company. But for now, the prospects are vague. Mm-hmm. As for me, at the moment, such an investment seems to be more risky and less expedient.
Okay, what about Lukoil? What would you say about Lukoil as an alternative to Rosneft?
Lukoil, yeah, good case for me. Lukoil also everything the same. Clear strategy, clear dividend policy, also buyback programs, and the management of the company is at the same time the major shareholder, and I like the point that the company should maximize free cash flow. This point is very effective in a situation when the far future of oil producers is unclear. So, of course, big projects are very interesting and they can be very attractive. But nevertheless, free cash flow is also very important, especially in a case when I can get it through dividends. So maybe collecting such companies like Lukoil and Rosneft together in one portfolio could be the best choice.
Rosneft claims to have the lowest production cost per barrel as compared with other Russian oil producers and international oil majors. Why is that? To many investors, it might sound counterintuitive because Rosneft is a government-run company, right? And should probably be regarded by some as low efficient producer. Do you think the company will be able to maintain this lowest cost producer status going forward?
Usually the cost of production is determined by several factors, of which the most important are the resource base, the structure of reserves, and the properties of oil containing reservoirs, and the technological level and quality of equipment. Rosneft now is doing well with both the first point and the second one. However, many companies periodically come out ahead and then they give up leading position because both the research base and the technologies that are constantly being improved are changing. Everything is changing. Therefore, I would not talk about the safe leadership. What is, for me, what is much more important when I'm talking about efficiency of company and efficiency of direct investment is continuous forward movement. In exploration and production expenses controlling. So it's strongly linked with efficiency of technologies. And now Rosneft, the company pays attention, big attention to development of such technologies in partnership with foreign companies, foreign leaders, and with Russian scientific institutions, and so on.
Right, right. Do you think the company will be able to earn 1 trillion rubles in net profit this year, or maybe more? And what size of dividends should we expect?
I expect a little less, about 950 billion rubles of net profit so far. As a result, we can see dividend payments about 40 to 43 rubles per share. which corresponds to a dividend yield about 6.7% at the current equity price.
Right. Right.
Well, Dmitry, I think this is the time for the last question. Today, you provide us with the very complicated and I think interesting analysis. So the last question for you: do you recommend your clients to buy Rosneft share now?
Well, actually, Rosneft is now included in our list of stocks in the focus. Albeit there are securities with higher dividend payments and higher price potential.
Okay, right. So it's not on your buy list right now then, right? It's kind of...
It's included in the list of
it's
stocks
included.
in the focus, yes, and it's included in a conservative portfolio. But
yes,
but I see some other possibilities as well.
Yeah. Okay. Oleg?
Dmitry, thank you for your participation. That was a pleasure for us, and see you soon.
Yeah, thank you.
See you.